Listen up or run for cover. Dropping knowledge from the people who have it to the people who need it. The real Brad Lee is dropping
what it is. Brad Lee back again with another episode of Dropping Bombs. Today in the studio, folks, as you are aware, I've got a real treat for you. Folks, this guy right here, by the time we're done talking, you're going to want to follow him. You're going to want to get involved in everything he's doing because he doesn't just claim it, he lives it. Travis Fox, welcome to the show.
Thanks, buddy. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
Long time.
If you guys don't know who he is, he's the CEO and founder of the Architects of Being. That's an online training academy. He's been helping people for years. Since 1991, Travis Fox has been the CEO of Travis Fox, now bigger than us, LLC. He's a master trainer and business coach, degrees in both psychology and clinical hypnotherapy. And he's been training and teaching his proprietary methodology, architecting sales, marketing, communication, branding, and corporate cultures for both private and public corporations. His skills, we don't have enough room for them all. And, his education, university, psychology, real estate, American Pacific University, PhD in psychology and a doctorate in clinical hypnotherapy, yada, yada. It's majorly impressive shit.
Thank you.
I've had the opportunity to talk with him on several occasions and freaking been getting to know him for quite a while now. And I'm telling you right now, if I was you, I'd pull over, grab a pen and a piece of paper and get ready to freaking drop some bombs. How's that for an intro? So tell me, what does architecting your life mean?
Architecting your life is really a 30-year journey for me. As a matter of fact, it'll be 30 years this year, as a matter of fact. It's really about, we architect everything else, right? The studio, everything you do, houses, comes with an architectural blueprint. But when we go all the way back to our educational system and what we call education, there's no blueprint to it. As a matter of fact, we're told the same thing. All throughout our schooling is very simple. Hey, you know what, Brad, go out there, find your passion, find your purpose. Heck, find your other half, and while you're at it, find yourself. So it puts us on this very strange psychological search that says, go find everything as though it's not within you. Architecting is a very deep dive, but in a simplistic way. Edutainment, meaning entertainment meets education, because I'm a firm believer that people learn in emotional states. I mean, we learn. That's how we learn, and that's how we remember it. And we remember things that we're really passionately intense to, or whatever emotion we are. So it's a step-by-step system where you can architect your life and a lifestyle. But it's not the heebie-jeebies. It's not, hey, you think it'll fall out of the sky and whoop, there it is. But it's an actual step-by-step system so you can understand what's going on in your mind. Example, one of the people talk about like limiting beliefs. There's no such thing as a limiting belief. It's just a bloody belief. Now, you can put the limit on it, for example, and now you have a secondary qualifier, which is a judgment sequence that your conscious mind places, which is a really fancy way of saying you're messing with your own head. So architecting is a step-by-step system that I've developed over 30 years, trained thousands of people in the system, myself included, of how do we actually do this? What is my conscious mind doing? What is my subconscious actually doing? What is my shadow doing? And most importantly, who's really running the show? So in the simplest of languages, we say, hey, look, the architect is what's going on down here in your chest and your gut. This thing up here is the hypnotist, and we're all master hypnotists. I mean, I know a little bit about that topic, and here's the challenge, though. We're the ones that are hypnotizing ourselves, and yet we don't realize we're doing it. So once you can understand it, well, now you can actually change it, and you can become really empowered of your own life and do it in a way that's entertaining and do it with a lot of people around the world.
And ultimately get where you want to go.
Or experience what you want to experience, right? Because, again, get where you want to go. What happens when you get there?
Be who you want to be.
Yeah, and for whatever that means, right? So, for example, who we were, we're almost the same age, if I recall. I think I'm a little slightly older than you, I think, right?
51.
Yeah, you got me by a year. I'm 50 this year. So, but I'm turning 16. The whole process of, who we were in our 20s and what we thought was interesting and who we are now in our 50s and what we think is interesting is two completely different things. But a lot of us are still running on mindset structures that we were given back in high school and sometimes university, and they are there, and they're predominantly there. And we see these cycles, and we go on these searches, and we go to experiences, and we have these great things, and that's fantastic. But at the end of the day, are we really changing anything? Well, Architect is a step-by-step system that does it, and we have everybody from ex-CEOs to housewives that have all become master architects and changed their life, and now can either A, be teacher trainers on their own, or they come in and they teach, in our academy, and they come back and they help other people do it for real.
Would it be something that you could like learn and pass on to your kids and help raise kids?
Oh, it's even beyond that. We actually have a whole program for teens that start at 10 years old, so that these younger kids that are coming up, especially in today's world, let's agree, we're both parents. I know you're a multiple parent, so am I. I'm a 3-time parent, a first-time grandfather, and I'm also a special needs father. One of my children is autistic, and so I've been really big on this of how come we're not giving that. The single longest relationship we're ever going to freaking have in our entire life is with ourselves, and yet we're never really taught how to deal with us. We always have to go outside somewhere else. We got to go talk to somebody else, go find this thing. And I'm like, well, wait a minute. You're the architect of your own life. But if you don't know how to build, you don't know how to create the life that you want, well, then you're subject to the whims of a mad mind, mostly your own.
Is that what they do at the Architecting Summit?
The Architecting Summit is a twice-a-year summit that we do for 2 parts. One, everybody gets to come together and experience architect, but also 2, that's all the graduating master architects that are coming in. And each one that comes in, their own special message, their own brand gets developed as a part of being a master architect. And those are people that are truly committed to being, global influencers and really want to change not from an educational system, but to a learning system. I believe that our educational system is exactly that. Yeah, you're educated, you're well-rounded, but you got to go out and then learn something. So you go to this university, you get this piece of paper, and that's great, but then you got to go get real world experience. So am I educated? Yeah. But do I know anything? Probably not. I got to go learn again. So what was the point of going through all of my education? I didn't learn anything. And on top of that, and I'll ask you, how many classes do you remember from your high school experience that you really remember?
None.
Right. Exactly. Maybe 1 if you're lucky, 2 on the outside. Why? Because going through school is kind of this laborious thing, right? We're looking for recess, go out, hang out with the girls, do sports, stuff like that. That's entertaining. So how come education, more learning, isn't a blend, especially in today's world where it's entertainment and education? And that's where the Academy's brought together from my film and television side, but also from my educational side and teaching side. Because I'm a teacher at heart, but I love teaching. But I don't want to sit there and teach you, go, hey, Brad, here's this number, here's a repetition, here's a row, do it 1,000 times, take a test, boom, you pass, and you walk out the door and forget everything we just talked about. That's not learning. And I've been really passionate about that for the last really 18 years when my third child was born, who was autistic. And I really looked at the education system and said, well, what are you actually teaching him? Yeah, reading and writing is important. I'm not discounting that, but every other class he took, he didn't care, not interested. And he taught me the most valuable lesson of any teacher I've ever had, and I've had great master teachers around the world, is that we learn in in emotional states. And if he wasn't into it, it was like throwing a BB at a freight train. Boop, went right by him. Same with us. If we weren't interested, we didn't hang out. So are we really educating people, or are we just pushing them through a system? And so what the Architects Academy says, well, wait a minute. What if we actually teach them how to deal with themselves first? What's the difference? How do I know what I really want? Am I just messing with my own head? What's my true compass north? What do I really want? How do I convey that to my parents? How do we work as a family unit so that everyone's creating the life that they really want? And it starts with what we call the noble truth. And the noble truth is very simple. I've traveled the world 3 times just like you, sat with all the great masters, spiritual, psychological, business masters, and said, what's the secret? Puns intended. And I only came back with one thing that was everybody could agree on. And it is the first thing that the Academy was founded on is, hey, you're not getting off this planet alive, period. So then life without fully living is the ultimate undoable regret. So why don't we make learning a part of that process that, hey, that is a part of the experience, but also how to manage that, how to do it in a step-by-step system so that you can measure results, apply what you're learning clinically, experience it, and then measure it. So you can actually go, oh, I actually am learning. I actually am changing. I actually am creating the life that I want. I'm not just mentally masturbating and, messing with my own head.
What was your involvement with The Secret and Beyond The Secret?
I wasn't involved in the original Secret, but most of the cast, we came back in 2019 and said, hey, it's been almost 20 years. What did we really learn? Because the secret in and of itself is, the secret is you. You are the secret, right? But here, the Beyond the Secret came and said, it's not just think it'll fall out of the sky. And that's, I think, the big misnomer. Everyone says, hey, this law of attraction thing. Yeah, well, law of attraction is great, but most people think that law of attraction means if I think it's going to show up. Okay. Well, and that worked for some people, but here's the other part. So there's 9 other laws that people don't know about, that they don't talk about, that actually govern the law of attraction, how it actually works, the law of cause effect, law of periodicity, and they don't get into those sequences. They just go, hey, you think it'll show up. If you just focus on it, it'll be there. So we all got back together and said, well, what if we made a film that took it to that next level? What, quote unquote, this generation has learned from the last almost 20 years. And then more importantly, what's a roadmap? What's the blueprint to do that? Architect was, obviously a part of that with other great cast members. I was one of the producers, and I was also in the cast as well. And then we made another film. Many of us got together and said, well, let's take that one step further. What if we actually gave, initial roadmap? Here's the first 6, 7 real steps to creating, the life that you really want. And that was called How Thoughts Become Things. And that's really about, how do our thoughts become things? I mean, all these thoughts that people get randomized about, where do they come from? How do I change my beliefs? What's my higher value system? What is my value system? Why do I believe what I believe? And really be able to change the thoughts. But, one of the things I've always watched people do, and I was guilty of this too when I was, Dr. Fox and thought I knew something, was that use mindset to train a mind. That doesn't make sense. There's something bigger in there going on. We call that the architect for simplicity. You can call that your soul, your chi, your center, whatever you want to call it. We just call it architect for simplicity. But there's something bigger that runs this puppy down here. We don't talk about that. We don't teach that very often unless you're at the higher educational learning system. And I think that to me, that's completely backwards. It should be the other way around. Teach that first. Teach it at a young age with the kids. Let them understand what it's more than just intuition, but how to listen to it, how to understand it, and ultimately then use this thing that's above our shoulders, use it as the tool that it is. Use it as the beautiful subconscious automation that it is, and then use that conscious mind to drive and be aware of what this is actually telling you. And again, I'm not talking about heebie-jeebie or, etherealism. I'm talking about, wait a minute, a real par for the course experience. And the way I couch it, I'll tell your listeners, we'll start off with this bomb right off the box, is, hey, look at it this way. If you only had 30 days left to live on this planet, would you be doing anything you're doing right now in your life? And if any part of your answer is no, stop. But then that comes the next question. What do I do next? And that's where the Architects Academy comes in.
Well, that's what's interesting, because if I were to answer that question, the answer is no.
Right.
Because like right now, if I had a crystal ball and it said, in 30 days, there's going to be mass anarchy. The world is over as we know it. An asteroid's coming.
Right.
Well, I've got enough money to last for 30 days. But, if the crystal ball said, no, we'll be 10 years into it, am I supposed to quit doing what generates my revenue?
Do you want to?
No.
Okay, then you got that part of you is a no. But let's broaden that topic, because you narrowed that down in microcosm to just money. Important. I get it.
Well, because if I quit right now, quit, like, again, if that question was posed to me, the answer is no. Well, what would you be doing? Well, if I knew I had 30 days left, I'd go grab my family and I'd be, fishing and playing and traveling and enjoying time with them. But I can afford to. A lot of people are listening to this. They couldn't afford to do that. So how are they supposed to just quit knowing that life isn't over in 30 days?
And yet, if you listen to the question, and I'll use my father as an example, because my father's a real world example of this. My father just passed in January 2020. Matter of fact, I found out the day we premiered Beyond the Secret, the Awakening film. My father literally had 30 days left to live. He had stage 4 pancreatic cancer. And when you get that news, your world changes. And when I say 30 days, I mean really bona fide. You had 30 days left to live. What'd you be doing? You said, no, I'd grab my family. Number one answer is I'd go grab my family and do blank. Okay, how come we're not? And everyone's going to say, well, I don't have the money. Well, in today's times, the field has been very leveled in that experience. And what I mean by that is there's always a way to create another experience. What we do to ourselves is we put ourselves in a box and say, well, I don't have a choice. Yeah, you do. It may not look the way you think it should. Now we're back to mind again. But there's all kinds of experiences going on. You and I have talked about this before. And again, you can call this coincidence, heebie-jeebies, whatever you want, law of attraction, whatever suits your fancy. But the bottom line is, if you're willing to live that life of experience, because you're not getting out alive, and own that. So you can go out and make all the money you want, but look at Steve Jobs, made all the money in the world, gone, 52, out of there, right? Changed the world, but again, the world keeps moving. So it comes from experience of, if you had 30 days left to live, you'd grab your family. What's that worth? That's worth every dollar you've got. It's worth every piece of knowledge, experience that you can impart upon those kids, to look at them, to stare at them, to go Grand Canyon to Guam, everything you could, and you'd find a way to do it. And here's the funny thing. When people see people who are truly, authentically in that space, not BS, not trying to sell you something, not trying to look great, look at my lifestyle, Instagram stuff, but for real, it's amazing how many people want to participate and will help you. I know, I've been there too, where things just, and I hate to say this, but they kind of fall out of the sky, and I don't want to be sound ethereal, but they do. But if you have a step-by-step system, you start adding value for each person you meet along the way. It's amazing the adventure you go on. And the funny thing is, that's the stories we tell. We don't tell about our big wins of, hey, I bought this company or I bought that stock. Those last for about 3 minutes. It's the experiences. It's experiences with your kids, with your wife, your friends, your buddies, but we don't live our life that way. Why not? Why not?
Well, usually because of excuses, I would say.
Exactly. You know where those come from?
Mind.
Right there. And you know where they were programmed from? Way back in the beginning. So example, and how many of your listeners are probably experienced this? I know I did too. I was that kid. I got straight A's because I'm almost photographic memory. So I was really lucky. I'm quasi-autistic myself. But I was also the kid that was really bored. So I was the one that always kind of got in trouble. So my parent-teacher meetings were always the same. Travis is a great student, but he's either unruly or he would always get in trouble. My dad would always say the same, we'll give him more work. Well, we can't do that because the other kids are doing whatever. And he goes, and I'll see you next time. So we get into the space of, well, what about the people who want to learn at their own pace? You and I were talking about that a minute ago. And I go, wait a minute. It's not hard. In today's world, you can make a living anywhere. I mean, come on, let's be honest. You can make a living on that phone. People do it every single day. You know the same people I do, and there's many more out there that we don't know that are doing the same thing. The opportunities now, even though in the state we live in is completely bizarre, I agree, and all we need now is zombies, and this year will be complete. We've done everything, we've checked every box. But the bottom line is you can make any living you want. You can do it from the power of a phone. You don't have to say, well, hey, I've got to have to do this, I have to do that. You don't have to do anything. There are people who have changed their lives and literally change it, and something more dynamic, more magical, more powerful than what they thought they were supposed to be doing shows up. But it isn't just by happenstance. Hey, I think it'll show up, Brad. This is great. Yeah, that's a part of it, I guess, but it's a really systematic thing. When you know what you're focused on and know how to focus on it, it's amazing the stuff that shows up. And again, I think something I've been really passionate about is we get lost in the adventure of life, man. We forget it's an adventure. And yeah, it's going to end one day, and you can make all the plans you want. But hey, look what happened this year. No one, you and I have talked last year. We would never have ever dreamed that this year would have been like this. No one, you can't write this stuff. And here we are. It happens. So what if we started doing it in a way that actually was on point, on passion, on purpose, and we knew it because we knew a way to actually monitor within ourselves and get out of our own freaking way. That's the biggest thing, get in our own way. I mean, that's what this whole show's about.
Getting out of our own way, folks. Easier said than done.
Maybe.
Well, again, I mean, you've spent years studying all kinds of different things, different religions. You've been like to the monks in Tibet, shit like that, right?
Yep, that's true. Bhutan, yeah.
Yeah, so
Nest.
Yeah, so I mean, like you had to learn this.
Right.
Thankfully, you're teaching it, but at the end of the day, I mean, I think it's hard to get out of your own way when you don't know that you're in it.
Exactly. We're all master hypnotists, but where did we learn that?
Well, again, depends on which thing you're talking about, but right. I would say you learned it from your parents, you learned it from society, you learned it from yourself.
Yep.
By self-hypnosis, if that's what you want to call it.
It is.
I call it like negative self-talk, but
same concept.
You're sitting there convincing yourself that you can't do something, or you're not worth something, or you fear other people's judgment.
Well, which is really your own.
Which is technically really your own.
Because fearing your judgment or you fearing mine is a waste of time.
Yeah.
Right.
But again,
my own, I'm stuck with me. And you're stuck with you. So how do we get out of it? Well, that's what the Academy was built on. Was like, wait a minute. What if we gave you a step-by-step, a real blueprint? Not a, hey, you think it'll fall out of the sky kind of thing, but a real blueprint that says, here's all the clinical evidence that we know at this time in history, whatever that is, as much as we can garner, in a way that makes sense, right? That you can go step by step and be aware of it and then go, okay, how do I apply that? Like right now to my business, to my family, to myself, to my kids, to whatever I'm creating, what I want to create. And then more importantly, a measurement of experience. How do I measure my results? I mean, everything we do in our world is measured by a result, whether it's sports, whether it's business, whether it's our friendship, it's investments. We measure the results, but we don't really measure ourselves. We only measure by an outside experience. And if that experience doesn't happen, does that mean you're a failure? Does that mean you screwed up? Did you blow it? You didn't live up to your potential? I don't think so. I think there's a much broader way to teach this. And over the last 30 years, and literally tens of thousands of people have gone through this experience and have refined the sequence and continue to do so to say, wait a minute, you can actually do this. You start at a different age, let's say 10 years old, middle school, where we start putting that as a part of that curriculum. And we're so afraid to put that in the curriculum because it's so fringy, but it's not fringy. It's really what we actually could be teaching. Because if you think about it, when we were young, we were naturally intuitive. It was driven out of us, moved into the educational system and said, this is how you learn. It's sit in this class, everybody stare straight forward, stand in a straight line. And I understand organizational because there's kids and I get all that. However, we never leave that room for all of the beautiful magic of life. We only get into it in trauma and fracture, right? When maybe a sickness shows up, or there's a death in the family, or maybe there's an afflicted with cancer, or hey, maybe there's there's divorce is a very popular one. That's when we start dealing with it, but we always deal with an after-the-fact reactionary state. But that doesn't really change what's going on in here. We're just reacting. So why don't we give them a system to do that? And so Architects Academy is based on an entire philosophy, but it's also fun. I mean, God forbid we have fun. I mean, because when was the last time you had fun in school?
Yeah, I always had fun in school.
Yeah, not that kind of
but
fun.
I got in trouble.
That's exactly right.
What about habits?
What about them?
I mean, I think those have to be instrumental. The daily habits.
They are instrumental, but how do you change them?
In my mind,
Sure.
you change them by changing your belief structure.
Exactly. Now, you have a lot of training. You've worked with thousands of people yourself. You're an excellent teacher yourself. You've got amazing success stories yourself, but you're the one of 1%. What if we had 5%? What if we had 30% of the world actually did that? What could we do as a species? And again, I'm not talking about altruism or some kind of euphoric state. I'm talking about just improving, just generally improving. But habits come all the way down to an emotional driver. They will come down to, in our world, that's called a master guardian. And that's way down, deep down in places we don't talk about at cocktail parties anymore. That's the stuff that really shapes us. But we don't really talk about it. You have to go either figure it out, or you have to go get some sort of therapy or some sort of experience to, hey, awaken the warrior within me. Okay, that's valuable, but does that really change a belief structure? Belief structures are very intricate things, but they are going to boil down to that emotional driver. But like, guys, we're programmed as kids. Big boys don't cry. Got to be tough. Got to be alpha male. And that has value too. But we're all the same. We meet the love of our life. We turn into big old marshmallows. How'd that happen? Where'd that come from? Because
that's the real you.
They're right. Exactly. The real you. So we're walking around, all great actors, by the way, self-included. I mean, at least I might say if I was in the union and got some gold statues for that. But even when I wasn't on that space, we still walk around what we think it's supposed to look like, and think being the operative word. And we're taught to think our way through life, and that has value, don't get me wrong. But we forget the part of us that is the real driver, the emotional driver. And I'm not talking about just feel it'll fall out of the sky. I'm talking about really understanding, what is it I really want? I ask people this question all the time. You're one of the odd ones because I enjoy, you and I have had many conversations away from what we're doing now, but I ask people all the time, what do you really want? And you can hear the crickets. Well, I want to be rich. All right, here's $10. You're richer than you were before. Now what? And they go, well, that's not what I meant. I go, what'd you mean? And then all of a sudden we're back to silence again. We don't even know what we really want anymore. And where does that come from? We've got what we call the 4 pillars: mother, father, religion, and state or culture. And they have such an impact on us because, again, let's say, a child who's 10 growing up in Japan and a child who's in India growing up in India are going to have 2 very different cultural influences, obviously parental influences, and in somewhat case religious influence. Right or wrong? No, there's no such thing as right or wrong between the 2, but they're going to have very distinct views of how we look at the world. I'm like, well, okay, can you change that? You should be able to. Isn't that what we're supposed to be able to teach? I mean,
views meaning beliefs. Beliefs,
how I see the world is the world as a dog-eat-dog world, or is the world like full of flowers, And you get these 2 very diabolic, and you see this with siblings where you'll have 2 kids maybe a year apart, and even sometimes fraternal twins, and even identical. They look the same to your eyeballs. They kind of move the same, but they have a completely different lens and view of how the world is. How is that? It's going to boil down to a belief structure, but we don't teach belief structure shifting. Well, you got to change your habits. Well, how do you do that? You and I were taught grin and bear it.
You believe nurture or nature?
Yes.
Both?
Yeah. It's got to be both, right? You got to nurture yourself. We're terrible at nurture. Let's be honest. If I talk to you the way you talk to you in your head, or you talk to me the way I talk to my head, we wouldn't be friends. And people are the same way. If people talk to them the way they talk to themselves in their head, they wouldn't have any friends. And yet, we'll allow the boundary of, hey man, you can't talk to me like that. But the stuff that goes in our head is 10 times more violent, and we'll allow that. And then we wonder why, hey, we're not getting out of our own way. No wonder why, I come off and I say these things. I'm like, well, that's not what I meant. How did that happen? Or how come I keep beating my head against the wall and thinking it's a door? And yet I keep doing it. Well, that's part of that process, but we don't teach that. And so my passion is really, and the academy, the academy itself is, why don't we teach that from the beginning? Why isn't that innate? Why isn't that part of the real educational system? And I don't mean just the schooling system. I'm just talking about life. Because again, the single longest relationship we're ever going to have is with ourselves. You can't outrun you. Well, I've tried, man. I'm done. Sex, drugs, rock and roll. I've tried to outrun me too. Didn't work. Didn't work. So when are we going to start and stop saying, go out and find your job and go out and find your passion, Brad, and find out who you are. Well, find out who you are inside first, and then watch how the adventure changes on the outside.
So how do you start doing that?
Well, the first one is to recognize that, hey, I'm not being honest with myself, that this is not what I really want. I mean, how many people you know, you don't have to name any names, I won't either, but how many people you know that you meet them and maybe that's not the relationship. You look at the relationship and you go, that's interesting. You could see there's a tension in there. Maybe there's not a great passion sequence, or maybe there's passive aggressivity going on, something like that. Or you see someone in business and you can tell that they're doing the job that they were educated to do, but they're not really into it.
Most of them, if not all.
Touche, right? Yeah, most of them, like let's say 95%.
Yeah.
Okay, how come? How come you would do that to yourself? Again, if you had 30 days left to live, and I've asked that question thousands of times, I've lost count, and everyone says, no, I wouldn't. I go, okay, what if you were just to own that decision first? Own this is not what I want. The moment I say that and I ask them to own it, now all of a sudden all the justification, the rationalization, the excuses come. Now the self-hypnosis comes. I go, okay, now that you're done with that, what would it take for you to make a choice? Like, well, let's go this way. Do you know the difference between a decision and a choice?
No.
Okay, a decision is an automated process that you become aware of. A choice is something that you own without justification, without rationalization. I choose because I choose. This is what feels right for me. I don't need your permission, your agreement, anything. I'm not talking about, again, being negative or aggressive. Just I own it because I own it. That's scary. I think the biggest thing we're scared of is real freedom. I know I was. Still am to a certain degree. I won't sit there and tell you I got it all figured out. I mean,
why do you think that is?
Because freedom requires responsibility for owning every single choice that we make. And that's scary because you get to own it all. That means what you consider a failure, you got to own that. What you consider a success, you own that. A neutral or mediocrity, you got to own that. And that's scary because we say we want to be free, but when I ask that question to people, I can tell you I'll get 10,000 more excuses than I'll get, okay.
So if someone's listening to this right now,
Yep.
they took my advice, grabbed a pen and a piece of paper.
Thank you.
And or they showed up day one at the Architecting Summit.
Mm-hmm.
What's like the first step you have them
Perfect.
do?
Great question. Thank you. Yeah, we have it's called a descending model. So the first thing is an experience. You're going to go right into the jump training. It's 21 days, interactive, fully data-driven, but it's also, when I say interactive, you're going to choose part of the sequencing that goes through it. Because again, we believe you learn in emotional states. So it's going to walk you through part of the training. Then it's going to have you go into an emotional state and it will get you there. And then you're going to choose where you go. So you choose your path of learning. When you experience a jump, then you're going to move into the next level, which is called Architects in Training, which is the first 4 modules of our master program. That's going to tell you how everything you just experienced actually really works at the deepest of levels. And then when you go through those 14 weeks, then you're going to drop into Architecting Mastery. And then we're going to show you the process of how that actually works all the way down to what's called Architect Code, meaning how you store memories and how you can actually shift those memories. And I'm not talking about NLP. I'm a firm believer that NLP is just a behavior identifier. It's not a behavior modifier, right? That's just my personal opinion. People can have their opinion if they want it. But over the years, I haven't seen a lot of people change from NLP. I've seen them change perceptions, but not the beliefs deep down, way down in the depths. So when you go through those first 3, then you get into Architecting Mastery. From there, you get to choose your path. There are several other master teachers and master architects in there that can go from everything from how do I heal from, let's say, a death, a divorce, how do I do leadership and high-risk stress training, leadership and scaling your company, all the way to how to parent, how to deal with at-risk youth. Right. And now one of our news programs that's coming online from one of our teachers is called The Warrior's Healer, which is where a great Nigong and Tai Chi master, who's a 6-Dan master, has taken that journey from martial arts and taught it into a space where it actually heals you. So the moves that you're doing teach on 3 levels. This is why you're doing the move. This is how you can protect yourself if you need to. This is how it works in your body and the physiology, what's happening from the synchronicity psychosomatically. But then third, how do I use that energetic movement to heal myself, which is Tai Chi is very known for. He teaches all 3 levels of that, but it's all experiential learning. And so for me, Architects Academy is how school really could be. You know, it's designed that way. So you come in, you get your undergrad, which is jump in Architects in Training. So you understand what's going on here. Oh, wow. And you get visceral experience and you can see the measurable results both inside and outside. And you have a whole community that supports you. And then from there, you choose what's interesting to you to learn. Because isn't that what it's supposed to be about?
Well, yeah, but a lot of people don't know how to make the choice.
First thing you learn is decision versus choice. We
Yeah.
literally show you how. And it's not our way. It's we'll show you how to do it for yourself so that you know what the choice is for you. Because that's the most valuable thing. What is the thing? I'll ask you, you're a parent. What's the number one thing you wanted to teach your kids?
To be kind.
Okay, how'd you do it?
I haven't yet.
Is that a mother-father pillar?
I can't even get them to get along half the time.
Oh, okay. So you want to teach them to be kind.
Yeah.
So how do you teach that as a teacher?
I don't know. By leading by example, maybe?
Modeling, right? So a model, right? Okay. So one of the things that my elder son, who I'm obviously a fan of, but my elder son is a very accomplished young man. Special Forces, 4 tours. He's got a master's degree in public admin from USC, as a Georgetown graduate for law, lawyer, and works at the State Department. Accomplished kid. The only thing I worked on as a parent, the only thing, because I was a young parent, was how to follow his guts, how to know what was right for him. Not what I said, not what his mom said, not what the world said, what was right for him. And then he took that journey. And I think that's the most powerful lesson, is that how do you know what's right for you? Because every parent, I think you'll agree with me, what do you want for your kids most?
For them to be happy.
To be happy, right? And yet most of the stuff that we teach is diabolically opposite of that. We don't teach happiness. We teach you got to perform, got to get good grades, you got to get a good job or get a good girlfriend or boyfriend. You got to be great at sports. You got to do all that stuff. But how many kids do you know that are really happy? I mean, today we have kids that are literally committing suicide left and right.
Yeah, nowadays not many.
Right. But why aren't we teaching that? Because we don't teach that at all.
And we don't know how. Because
Well,
we don't know ourselves.
Exactly. So it becomes now an architectural space, meaning, okay, if we have a blueprint, you can build something. If I said, Brad, here's a blueprint. I want you to go build another dropping bombs 2. You know how to do it. I'm sitting in living proof of what you did. You and your team built this, and you had a plan on how to build this studio, did you not?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was more accidental than anything.
Well, sometimes that happens, right? You have to have a room for pivot. But a blueprint isn't a hard line in the sand, but if you know a plan, there's 2 things that come out of that. One, you feel safety of knowing what the next step is. I know what the next step is, and I also can go back and look at the previous one. But 2, I leave myself the room to be the builder that I want to be, what I want it to build and look like, as opposed to what the blueprint says. That gives us the room to be happy and understand what happiness is, but we don't teach happiness. We teach performance.
Do you believe happiness is a choice?
I do.
Yeah, that's what I say.
It's a choice, but being aware of what that choice really means. Most of us think happiness is an external thing. I know I was guilty of it too. Cars, success, trophies, Emmys, all these things are supposed to validate that you're something, right? Letters before and after your name. I mean, heck, I appreciated you introducing me. Thank you. But, I go by Travis. It took me a long time to be okay with just Travis is okay. I don't need all the letters after my name to validate what I'm saying. But we teach it from that perspective because it's a logical based thing. What if we taught it the other way first? Then, yes, they would still be accomplished. They would still experience those things, but how they value it and how they appraise it and how they pass it on to their family and to your grandchildren upcoming when that comes, right? Now we're actually teaching to enjoy the life experience because, boy, we are so good at hypnotizing ourselves to think that we got time. Oh, okay, show me. Show me that you have time. That is the biggest illusion we perpetuate in ourselves. I mean, you and we've made this joke with each other using my old golf background. We're on the back 9. You and I made the turn,
For
brother.
Sure.
We are on the back 9.
Shit, I might be on the 12th hole.
Yeah, a couple holes ahead, right? And we know the 19th hole's coming, and when it comes, that's it. But we don't know when it is, and when we're young, we don't put that in. And I'm not talking about fear-based mechanisms. I'm talking about enjoying it.
Yeah.
We don't enjoy it anymore. How come? We're supposed to have the world at our fingertips with the devices and things that we can do, and we're connected. And how come? And that's part of that goes back to we have no idea how to manage ourselves. No clue.
I just said earlier to somebody, when you turn 50, in my opinion, because I didn't really think about it until I've turned 50.
Mm-hmm.
But once you turn 50, you start to realize, dude, you don't have a lot of time left.
Right?
And quite frankly, when I was 30, you didn't have a lot of time left. You just didn't really focus on that.
Well, you're doing other things, right? We're building businesses. We're in relationships. Maybe we're married. Or you're coming out of a divorce. You got kids. You're in that space. When we get to our age, like my kids are all grown. Heck, my grandkids are almost out of high school, right? They're pushing now. They're in that space, and you go, now what? And then all of a sudden you take stock. You take that moment, that proverbial midlife. Holy crap! We play by 9 holes. What did we play? How do we do? What did we do it for? What do I really want to do now? The problem is that where we are in our journey is we don't get to play the front 9 again. There's no mulligan. I mean, even if you want to say you believe in the reincarnation state as a philosophy.
Do you?
And reincarnation? I don't believe in it as the Buddhists define it, but I do believe in there is something that's bigger than what this is.
Yeah, because there's some reincarnation stories that are pretty trippy.
Pretty powerful. Absolutely. Especially if you do like past life regressions and sequences like that. You see things you can't explain. I will tell you, I've seen it and I can't explain it. So I just believe that there is something bigger. I would go to almost an altruistic state and say that, energy never dies. It just transforms. It would be a simple place to say that.
Yeah, but you're going to wake up a bird one day?
Or an asshole.
I mean, think about it. Imagine a dog.
Right?
You if you're conscious and you now are a dog. Well, you can't talk. You can't tell everybody you used to be a human.
Right.
All you can do is frickin' wag your tail and bark.
How many movies have you seen that they've tried to emulate that concept where the dog is aware, right? Looking around, trying to communicate, right?
Yeah. And then you realize you can't. You're a dog.
Right.
But yet your awareness, your energy.
Right. But take that now to a human. How many humans do you know that have that same problem right now who cannot communicate, this is how I'm feeling? They can't do it without being overly aggressive and angry or going into deep depression or going off and onto a bender or, destroying themselves. How come they just can't communicate? So don't take it just to the dog level, take it to the human level. We already do that now. Maybe being the dog would be better.
Well, my idea of happiness,
okay,
which is the wrong word because I think happiness is a choice. You can be happy broke, you can be happy rich, you can be happy in any situation.
Amen.
But my idea of what that looks like includes decadence. It includes it includes money, cars, trips.
Sure.
It actually, let me just say, it includes options.
You always have options.
Because, like, again, if I went home, grabbed my wife and said, babe, world's ending in 3 days, what do you want to do?
Mm-hmm.
It's going to include nice hotel room, different locations. Spending time with family is the one thing that it will include, but she's not going to be happy in a Motel 6, but that's a choice. However,
Never know.
Yeah, but when I always listen to my own show while I'm doing it. Like, I never listen to the show after the show.
Right.
I'm listening now, and I'm thinking, what would I be thinking if I were listening to this?
Cool.
I'm thinking, okay, I get it. Happiness is a choice, but do I have to be broke?
No. What? Who? Okay, let's go back to self-hypnosis. So this is the big split, right? And this is where I struggled too. Because if you're a life coach or a life architect or you're a mentor, you're whatever, you're a preacher, whatever that category is where you really want to help people, there's always this ideology that you have to be broke to be spiritual. The dumbest thing on the planet, in my opinion. Or the other one is you have to be this ruthless capitalist that doesn't care about anybody. He's going to step on everybody's neck and head to get to the top of the heap, and you're going to stay there as long as you can hold power. Who said that couldn't be a blend? I mean, no different than education. Why can't education be edutainment? Why can't it be entertaining while we learn? We know that we learn in emotional states. We know that we learn better when we're in an alpha state. We know that we learn better when we're experiential and immersed. We know that.
Yeah, but what about responsibility?
Responsibility is absolutely a part of it. That goes back to choice. I choose to go this space. I choose to do this. I mean, come on, let's hearken to the Matrix if you want to just kind of boil this down to the bare bones. The very end of the movie, why do you fight? Why do you fight, Mr. Anderson? Because I choose to. Because I choose to stand for something that's right for me, not right for everybody else, and not trying to make everybody else wrong for right, because right and wrong are just the words we use in English.
So if right for me is to have resources and abundance, I know that's right for me.
Yeah, you do.
Then there are responsibilities. So that 30 days to live, again, I can't stop doing what I'm doing. I mean, I can.
Thank you.
But I can't.
But no, you can.
I can.
You just choose not to, and that's okay. There's
Correct.
no judgment in it.
Correct. But
okay,
I can't if I expect to live at the level I'm living. Now, if I'd been smarter, and I keep telling people, this is in my book, if I've invested more wisely all these years, then my answer would be a little bit different. Because if you live at a lifestyle where, let's say, your burn rate is $100,000 a month, which is comfortable.
Given today's state, it's more than comfortable.
Yeah, but you can't stop generating the revenue unless you have that, in recurring cash to go be what you're saying happy. Like, would you choose to do what you're doing? No, I wouldn't. I'd choose to fuck off all day.
Cool. Do you have any friends that would let you stay at their $1 million house, multi-million-dollar house?
Temporarily.
Would they let you stay there?
Sure.
Did they charge you for it?
Nope.
Cool, that was easy. What if you had 10 friends around the world said, I'll let you stay at my place for a month, Brad, and you do whatever you need to do, brother, because I choose to work because that's my choice, even though you choose to fuck off. Cool, we're still friends. Enjoy it.
But there's no stability.
Who said you need? Well, right. You believe the stability is stability? Look at the world you live in now.
I have stability.
Do you? So if the banks collapse tomorrow, you have stability?
No.
I rest my case,
But if the banks collapse tomorrow, we're all fucked.
Or maybe, just maybe, and this now we're going to go to the altruistic side. Maybe we have the opportunity to build it a little bit differently.
Yeah, but then you're going to have to adjust your idea of what's ideal.
Well, we're back to ideas again.
Now,
right?
I don't want to grow my own carrots. I want to go buy some.
But you could also create a space where you're not growing your own carrots.
How you going to eat?
Maybe you have people work together. I mean, come on, we've been tribal since, I don't know. I lived with the Hadzabe tribe for a week in Africa. They've been nomadic for 50,000 years, and they're the happiest people I've ever met. We broke out in song for no reason. Literally in the middle of just sitting there around a campfire, they just started dancing, clapping. There was no boom box. There wasn't, it was amazing.
Yeah, but that's why I say it's a choice, because you can find people
All day
that are, by our standards, broke, destitute, yet happy as a clam.
Right. So,
but I would not be happy as a clam in that tribe.
Right. And there are tribes that are just like that on both sides of the equation.
Well, where's the tribe that wants to come together and support one another financially? That's the tribe I want to belong to.
Yeah, well, I'd say
is that the Jewish tribe?
I don't
Mormons?
know. I'm not Jewish. I'm not Mormon, but I've hung out with both of them. They're pretty good tribes. Shamelessly plugging, I'd say the Architect Academy. We all support each other around the world. We're a multinational organization, and we have people literally all over the world. We all support each other in various ways. Everything from how we invest together and work as a team to how we support each other's families. And again, I'm not talking about a cult, because I want to be really crystal clear. We're not. This is not follow Travis Fox. Please don't do that. Please follow you. The Academy is very.
I just told everybody to follow you.
Follow me on Instagram and Facebook. That's great, but I mean, don't follow Travis Fox. I'll quote Tony. I'm not your guru, right? I'm not. That's not what this is about. This is about you understanding you're the architect of your life. If you're not architecting your life, then who is?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, like one time I knew a guy. He was on Wall Street, made about $750 a year, which is pretty comfy.
Yep.
He's one day. Everyone says had a mental breakdown, but basically he said, "Screw this,"
right?
And now he's a beach bum,
right?
And he's as happy as pig in shit,
right?
But he's also not making $750, so he had to make the choice.
Yeah, but you told me he was happy. You told me you wanted.
He says he's happy.
Okay, well, we got to take that on face value. How else we judge?
That's what I'm saying. So to make this choice, it almost seems like, well, shit, you got to choose money, which I equal responsibility to irresponsibility, meaning screw it, I'll sleep on someone's house. Someone will feed me. And by the way, I totally believe in that. That's why a lot of times, I'll take jumps. People are like, are you nuts? Dude, what's the worst that can happen? That's the way I think. Well, what's the worst that can happen? When I quit my job, everyone said I was crazy. Yeah. I'm like, dude, I wasn't looking for a job when I found this one. Like 2 jobs are a dime a dozen.
Right.
I'm not worried. I'll get another job if I need one.
Right.
So I jumped. And of course, I'm happy I jumped.
Right.
There's a lot of people that will not jump.
Right.
They won't make the jump because of fearing, what if I don't make it? What if I don't want to live without food? I have kids. I have responsibility. So where I'm going with this is trying to get people that are listening, because I know there's people thinking the same thing.
Of course.
They're thinking, yeah. I want to be happy, but I have responsibilities.
Okay, let's back up a step. The whole point of the Academy isn't, hey, just be happy. I mean, you can go watch a YouTube video and get that nonsense if you want to. And as we talked about, be happy, it's choice. Okay, fine. I'm talking about applying it to any aspect of your life. For example, I'm like you. I enjoy comforts. I'm a bit of a drama queen. I've done the Motel 6 thing, and I've done, the Aman hotels. I've done both. And I would tell you I like the nicer ones better. And yes, they do have a price tag. I get that. But there's something in between. And you just said that, and we both agreed that, let's say some 95% of the people are going to work every single day in some form or another, and they don't like what they're doing. Okay, that has a life value factor. That's a monetary factor in my brain. Going, okay, how do you get that time back? Well, you don't. Like we just talked about, you and I are now on the back 9 of our lives. What if you had a way that you could do that system, and a step-by-step way? Because people think you have to just all of a sudden, like your friend, I'm going to leave Wall Street, I'm going to go be a beach bum. Okay, Tom Shadyac did that. Hollywood director, very famous. You know his movies, Ace Ventura, Liar Liar. Fabulous director. said, okay, I've made it to the top of Hollywood. I've got millions of dollars. I've got $7 million mansion. How come I'm not happy? And he realized he wasn't really living his passion. He made a whole movie about it called I Am. Go check it out. Documentary about the 15 years.
I Am?
15.
Was that Netflix?
Yeah, it's on Netflix. It's been around for about 15 years now.
I'm gonna go look
But it
at
was
that.
and he interviewed people on, well, what are we supposed to be really happy about? You know, and when you really look at it, and now I guess last I saw, and I haven't checked on this in a decade or so, but he became a teacher. I think it was at Pepperdine, because he loved teaching the art of what he was doing. But like all of us, we get caught up in the responsibility, the obligation. I have to do this and all this stuff. You don't have to do it, but you can still live the life you want to live, and you can work and you can enjoy it. Now we're back to that same thing, going all the way back. What if it was entertaining to do what we do? Do you enjoy what you do? You said yes.
I do. Yeah.
I love what I do. I'm super passionate about it.
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with the life I've created. The only thing I want is more.
More of what?
Everything.
Okay, more happiness? How do you measure that?
Well, I'm pretty happy.
Okay, well, so
I don't really need more happiness. I need more abundance. Like
what does that mean?
Well,
Are we talking about dollars and cents?
Yeah, I only have so much money. Like, for example, sometimes I'd rather fly private, right? But
Especially nowadays.
Yeah, and I do, but I can't do it anytime I have a whim of flying.
Right.
I know I have friends that they own their own jets.
Yep.
Like when they want to go somewhere, they just they make a phone call, and an hour later their
let's go.
jet,
Yeah.
it's got food.
Right.
They can take a family, they can take their friends.
Sure.
But like that to me is what I want.
Okay.
Now,
So let's
will it make me happier?
I don't know.
No, I don't think it'll make me happier. I think it'll make life more interesting and more fun. Because
Back to that again.
Well, just like this weekend, my wife wants to go to Seattle. Well, I'm like, okay, go to Seattle. Her grandma's not doing too well. So she's like, well, come with us. I can't. Why? Well, because I'm choosing to finish my book. I'm choosing to start, finishing my courseware, getting those things we were talking about out there.
Absolutely.
I'm choosing to do that. Why? Because I believe once I get that passed, the rest will open up.
Okay.
I believe that resistance, when you feel resistance, which could be external or internal.
Yeah. Usually internal.
You should follow the resistance, meaning, man, I really know I need to do this, but you procrastinate. There's all these reasons why you can't, you won't. This comes up, that comes up. You reprioritize, and you just never do what it is you kind of should do,
right?
But you don't.
It's kind of
That's
like
what I mean.
for a test.
That's resistance.
Yep.
I think the resistance is how you determine what you should do. Like that should be your compass, if you will. Whatever's the hardest and most resistance is probably what you should be doing. So I'm starting to listen to that a little bit. So I told her, look, you go have fun. I'm going to take this weekend and finish my book. Why? Because that's resistance. I came out with it freaking, I started pre-orders like in December, bro.
I remember.
I'm starting to get people making memes that they're 90 years old waiting on my book to be delivered.
We might be 90 by the time it's done.
But it's the resistance. This comes up, that comes up. Hey, here's a $250,000 deal. My book, I don't think it's going to make me $250,000. I'm not hoping it will. It's being done so people can avoid trials and tribulations that are coming, and they can live a better life or accelerate and avoid problems.
Okay, can I?
So it's just a.
But let's go though. I think that's a valuable blueprint, if I may.
Yeah.
I don't think it's done to help them avoid it. I think it's to help them look at it and deal with it. Because you can't avoid trials and tribulations, and you just validated your own point by saying you got to go to the resistance. I happen to agree with you 100%, but I'd say take it one level deeper. Where's the resistance? How come you're creating that? Where's the block within you? And if you're one of the exceptions that goes, hey, I've got the intestinal fortitude, I got the guts, the moxie, the time, the kick in the butt, whatever it is that makes you go, you know what, honey, go ahead and go to Seattle. I'm going to choose this. But the 90% won't. They'll go to Seattle with their wife and they'll F off on the book. And next thing you know, it's like 2021. They're like, hey, Brad, where's the freaking book? Well, where's that coming from? Where's the resistance really coming from? What's that about? And once you solve that, now all of a sudden it opens up options. We're back to where we started again. Now we have options. Now I can live more free. I can be more happy, enjoy a life that I want to architect, and a lifestyle that goes along with it.
Well, those are assumptions.
No, they're not.
Well, I'm just assuming that will happen.
You're assuming that
I'm assuming that if I finish my book and write my courseware, that will lead to more freedom and more options and more.
Uh-huh.
I'm assuming I could write my book, come out, and didn't change a damn thing, just like my blue check mark. Okay.
Right.
I wanted that blue check mark till I got it. And then it's like,
I
dude,
still don't get it. I'm like, what does that actually
it
do?
hasn't done shit
I
for
haven't
me.
figured it out myself. I'm like, I got a blue check mark. I don't get it. I have not seen an ROI. I don't understand what that means.
Well, I mean, you know, if anything, it makes me feel cool on occasion. Why?
Sure.
Because other people don't have it. But I thought, you know, man, I just need a blue check mark, and then that'll make me legit.
Right.
Well, it didn't change anything. I didn't get better rooms and reservations. I didn't get anything really.
ROI, nothing.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
So-
you got a blue check mark.
So what if it's like that? What if I finish my book and it comes out and people are like, yeah, dude, give me something I didn't know.
Okay, cool. So how would you feel that you've written, this is your first book, if I recall.
Yep.
Okay. How do you feel about completing your first book? That's a whole journey in of itself. I know I've written 3. I'm
Well-
working on my 4th.
Well, I'm telling you. Well, what books have you written?
My first one was on on hypnosis, on the history of it. What was the real truth about it? My second one was on the golf psychology, called The Secret to Lower Golf Scores, which was the sequel to Beat the Bogeyman, when I was doing the PGAs.
Beat the Bogeyman.
Yeah.
Where
PGA.
were you, a golf psychologist?
No, I was a head case. I was a kid that grew up. So we're back to what we started again. My father, when I was 5 years old, put a golf club in my hand, and I was just kind of a natural to it. And that was my dad's dream. My dad was a golf nut. But was never really that great at it. He was, at one time, I think he got to an 8 handicap, but he averaged about a 10 to 12. And I played high school golf, went to go into college and became a first-time father. And that was not part of the plan, but it became part of the plan. And through a series of circumstances, I was heartbroken. You know, the mother of my child and I, she split. She was an athlete as well. And there was a midnight run, and I never got to see my child born, and it messed me up. I didn't know how to handle that. All my education, all my psych training that I'd gone through, and, you know, the Dr. Dennis Waitley with the Psychology of Winning, which was a big influence on me when I was younger, had no clue how to handle it, and I cracked. And so I went on a search, as I was supposed to. I got to go figure out why my head's a mess. Why is my head a mess? And that's when my life changed, and I realized I was playing golf, not because I loved golf, although I like it, and I was good at it. I was playing for my dad. I was still trying to get my dad's attention, still trying to get my dad's approval, because that's what my dad wanted. It's the only time we could relate, because after my mom and dad got divorced, my dad was a very different person. He was a very, very, emotionally shut off person, and that was the only way we could relate. But it was also performance based, And if I wasn't winning, I wasn't working hard enough, wasn't earning it. You got to earn it. You got to earn it, Travis. I'm like, well, how do you earn it? If the ball goes in the hole, it goes in the hole. I mean, shit, there's a million variables between me and 20 feet away from the cup. I can take all of them I can, but I can't guarantee a putt. And that's when I met my mentor. And
Who's the mentor?
Dr. Neves. Dr. Neves came to me, and he was just an amazing soul. And I sat under him for 15 years. And he's the one that actually first introduced me to subconscious modalities and started diving in of going, why do you even like golf? I couldn't answer. I was like, well, I like playing, I like traveling, I like the idea of I can get all the girls, and I'm going to win the Masters one day, and all this stuff that I was supposed to do. But when he really asked me, he goes, what do you love about golf? I was dumbfounded. I just stared at him. And he goes, what do you love about golf? Couldn't answer the question. He goes,
Is he the one that taught you how to find all this and start architecting your own life?
Yeah, he is. He's my Obi-Wan. I give full credit to him. He really was
Is he
always
still
there.
alive?
No, he's not.
So it's almost as if someone really reflects on themselves, they're going to get more answers than if they seek answers somewhere else.
I think that's 100% valid. And then more importantly, the answers that you get outside of yourself, you'll know if they're the answers you're looking for inside. So when you're actually talking to someone and saying, hey, Brad, I need help with this, if it doesn't feel right, the resistance, stop. And it doesn't mean that Brad's value isn't any less than what I'm asking. It just isn't, that's not what I'm looking for here. That's not the right for me, the alignment, whatever word you want to use. And I think that the being able to follow true compass north for yourself and follow, as Scott Peck used to say, the road less traveled is valuable, because that's the adventure of life. I mean, I've had the opportunity to be around many people who have taken their last breath, and none of them say, gee, I wish I had bought more stock, or I traveled to more hotels. They all say the same thing. I wish I'd spent more time with the people I love. I wish I'd traveled, and I wish I'd really lived the life I wanted to live. I experienced the things I wanted to really experience. And I'm like, well, why didn't you? I had obligation, I had responsibility, I had all this stuff. You didn't have it. You chose it, and that's okay. But that regret, man, you can't get away from it. Well, regret sucks.
Big time.
Yeah, because at our age, it's becomes, as you said so eloquently, I agree, we become acutely aware of it. Oh, crap, I'm at 50. Ooh, I don't feel 50. But when I look at that birthday clock, it says you're 50, pal. There ain't no way around it. I don't like that. But my inside says, well, gee, I probably have the emotional maturity of a 16-year-old and I act like a 12-year-old, and I'm okay with that. But the clock doesn't say that. And if I listen to the averages, you and I are on, you're probably right, about the 12th hole. We got lucky, maybe 30-some years left if we're lucky.
Well, I mean, you don't have twice as long left, more than likely.
Right.
Like if shit goes well.
Yeah.
If shit goes
Awesome.
good.
Really good.
Yeah, you got another 35 to 40.
Where you're at least not worried about when it's coming.
Yeah, like you spent most of your life, the bigger majority of your life has been spent.
Correct. So
even if shit goes well.
Right. Even if it goes like you're playing, you're under par, you're playing great, right? You're hitting fairways, you're hitting greens,
Yeah.
you're doing the
Like
deal.
it's another 10 years where you start getting freaking swollen ankles for no reason. And there's nothing you can do about it. Right?
Your monthly cycle gets a little faster, right?
Yeah, like dude, I'm telling you, I started just noticing, like,
Right.
man, even if shit goes well.
Well, I mean, look at you and I over the last 2 years. Both of us have gotten gray. We got gray now. Where the hell did that come from?
Yeah.
Just showed up. I'm like, damn, I don't feel gray hair. But now that I went from fox to now #silver fox. I'm like, and at first it was kind of funny, but it really I became aware of it. I'm like, you know what my really most valuable asset is time, not money. When I was younger, money was my most valuable asset. Now it's time. How do I spend it? Well, doing what? Which it goes back to that question of 30 days. If I only have 30 days left to live, what am I doing with my time? Because money becomes not the issue. It's what am I doing with every single frickin' second? What am I doing? Every breath means something. Now, I'm not saying that it has to be that way 100%. I mean, that's obviously the ideal, but we also have to live in this human spacesuit.
All right, well, let me ask you these two questions.
All right, go.
First question.
Yeah.
If you had 30 days left, what would you be doing?
Exactly what I'm doing right now. I changed my entire life. I did. I walked away from things that people would go, you are out of your freaking mind, Travis. You had it. You're there. You're the pinnacle of success. And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I wasn't in a complete alignment with Travis, or something wasn't there, because 15 years ago, I woke up from a dream, which is where the academy really took off to the next level. Was I really wanted to change this learning system. And you know, part and parcel was from my son, who taught me a great lesson, which I'll talk about in a second. And the other part was the dream was really clear. And I know this sounds, like, oh my God, I don't care. That's the dream. I woke up from a dream and it said, you need to go train 1 million architects. You need to train those people that really can do it, because that's going to be the legacy you leave behind. What happens after that's none of your business. You're going to be gone wherever you go. Maybe I'll come back as a dog, whatever. But that was it. And it went from not just, hey, this is my driving thing because I'm good at it and I enjoy doing it. It became a deep passion for me. And yeah, as you know, it ain't a straight line. It's a big bowl of spaghetti. It goes this way, that way, things gone around, but it has been one hell of an adventure, and I would not change it, because the people I've met, the lessons I've learned, the experiences I've had, I've lived an amazing life. If I were to leave the planet right now, I lived an amazing life. The only thing I didn't do is I haven't finished that, and I am hell-bent to finish that.
What? Live an amazing life?
No, I already lived an amazing life. I'm still living an amazing life. I'm beyond...
So you'd be finished training 1 million architects.
Yeah, I want to pass that on. I want to honor what was given to me. How helped, because I could have been a knucklehead. I could have turned into a total knucklehead. I was an OCD perfectionist. I was pissed off all the time on the golf course because I wasn't performing enough. And if I didn't hit the right shot, I'd just sit there and hit more and more balls, because that was going to be the thing that solved it. Because deep down in places I didn't want to talk about, I knew it still wasn't going to make my dad happy. I knew it, but I couldn't admit that because I was too busy trying to be cool. I don't know, that's not about my dad. No, bullshit. It's about my dad. I wanted my dad to finally, stop blaming me for the divorce. Stop, giving me crap because I look like my mom.
Which were just assumptions.
No, they weren't. Those are verbals. Those are directs.
That's what he said?
Yeah, straight to my face. So, I was like, cool. Well, Dad, I can't help change my face.
Because you look like her?
What's that?
Because you look like her?
Yeah, I look like my mom. I look just like my mom. And in some ways, I'm a lot like my mom, obviously. But I also went into film and television. My mom was, a model and an actress. So my dad's a fighter pilot and my mom's an actress. So put that together. And if you saw the original movie Top Gun, it didn't end that way. It ended with a big boom. It's done. And I remember when I was 9, my parents sat down with me in some attempt to be like Dr. Spock and, let the kid choose his own path thing. And they said, hey, we're going to get a divorce. You just have to decide who you want to live with. And that was when I knew my childhood take a very different road. And but I knew the choice, and I was aware at that moment. And I made my choice. And my father, taught me a great many things. So I don't want to turn this into a pity party against my father, but I became really clear what golf was. It was the only way we could relate. It was the only place he and I could really talk. Because the rest of the time when I was in school, my dad comes from that generation of, you got to work hard for it. You got to play every sport. And I'm like, I don't want to play every sport, Dad. I'm great at football. I'm great at soccer and I'm great at baseball, but golf is where we're supposed to be because that's the only way I can talk to you. And that conveyance was like throwing a BB on a freight train. It was like, think. It hit him, but it never cracked that door open because his heart was so smashed, in my personal opinion, from that relationship. And I looked like my mom. I was a constant trigger for him. And he didn't know how to process that. And so that relationship was only softened on the golf course because that was the one place we could just talk about stuff.
Did you ever convince him to allow you to teach him how to architect?
No. My father wouldn't even let him teach me how to play golf. I would sit there and I'll never forget the last time we were on a golf course together was when I was coaching on the PGA Tour. We were up in Detroit back at the Buick when the Buick was still around. And my dad came and I was working with a bunch of great players, phenomenal. And we were having a great week and we're cruising along and I was walking around the course with them and, just taking care of my dad, saying, hey, Dad, here's your pass. Come on, let's go in. Let's just enjoy the experience like any other kid would do. And I'll never forget the question. My father turned to me and he goes, so how come you're not playing? How come you're coaching? Because I like coaching, Dad. Yeah, but you're a good player. You should be out there. You should be the one playing. I don't love it, Dad. I don't love the game like these guys do. These guys love it. They eat it, they sleep it, they walk it, they talk it. That's all they do. And by the way, some of them aren't that real happy. Don't be fooled. That's a job. It's a 7-day-a-week job. Don't be fooled. These guys are on the road. They're on the road 5 weeks at a time. They're away from their family. They're in a suitcase. They're not as happy as they look. Some of them are. Some of them aren't. I'm happy coaching. And I'll never forget the look on his face. It was dead steel right through me. Never lived up to your potential. Thanks, Dad. Appreciate that. That was that whole experience. And that's when I was like, I knew I made the right choice when I was 20 years old to shift my career and go into how do we get into these habits? How do we have these things happen? How do we really change? Because a Freudian model didn't work for me and a Gestalt model didn't work for me and a Maslowian model didn't work. I'm like, well, God dang it, there's got to be a blueprint to do this. And sports psychology really didn't exist. And even then, it still didn't get to the heart of the matter. And I went, why aren't we at the heart of the matter or architect? And that became my passion, my journey. And then, 15 years later, when my youngest son was born, he taught me the most valuable lesson in the world, and I'll never forget it. And I give him all the credit. And we were in Atlanta, Georgia. And, your kids ever play? Well, we live on the West Coast now, but you ever play in a pile of leaves when you were a kid?
Yeah.
What'd you do with them? You threw them up in the air, right?
Yeah. Hitting them.
Right. Threw them, hitting them, jumped in them. Not this one. This one takes 2 leaves, and the beautiful autistic that he is, grabs them, stares at them for what seems like forever. And I'm sitting there and I'm just watching him. I'm just staring. I'm like, what the heck's this kid doing? And he grabs them and he takes these 2 leaves and he really observes them. And then he just slowly, very diligently starts to crunch them. And he gets every morsel. And like every crunch he made, he was into it. And then when he was done, as autistics do, because they get so excited that they literally can, what's called modulation, they overwhelms their system. He starts flapping. He's so excited because he crushed these leaves. And I sat there and I watched him do this for what seemed forever. It's probably about 20 minutes. And I remember, and I know this will sound odd, I just started crying and staring at this kid going, I've never, ever in all of my life, and I was in my mid to late 30s at the time, had that kind of ecstasy or excitement about anything so simplistic and so pure than watching him crush leaves. And all of a sudden I went, how come? How come I'm not experiencing life like that? And not from this altruistic point of view, like, well, doggone it, people like me, that kind of thing. But really enjoying it. And it's because I kept putting layers over what I thought it should look like. And that's what architecting really took its next level of, wait a minute, it doesn't have to look the way you think it does. In fact, more often than not, it won't. And if we are so hell-bent that it's got to look a certain way, we'll miss every freaking opportunity. We've heard all those fable stories of the man on the roof and it's flooded and here comes a boat. No. God's going to save me. And another boat comes by. No. And then finally the guy dies. He goes to God and says, hey, man, what's up? And God goes, I sent you 3 boats, you dummy. And we're so locked on to what we think it's going to look like that we miss so much because we're so myopic. And that's how our brain's actually built. But we don't teach people to go time out. What if we look at it this way? And that lesson he taught me has changed me forever. So when I was out with the Hadza Bay and living as a nomadic, literally getting up at 4 a.m, No running water, no toilet. You're sleeping on dirt. You got to go hunt for your food. You walk 6 miles before you get your first look at anything edible. And it's called a bush baby. It's about the size of that bottle of water right there. And there's four warriors. Myself and my buddy were there. And it took us 45 minutes, them, not us, to kill this bush baby. And then you got one little piece of meat this big. And that was your meal. And you were excited. Because, man, you were present. And then to come back and the ladies were, making beads and they broke out in song. And I'm like, how are these people so happy with supposedly nothing? Now, I'm not saying you have to live that way. You have to live this kind of altruistic, spiritual way. You got to be broke or whatnot. I think you can do both. And I think there's a lot of people in this generation who are ready to go, wait a minute, I can still live a very spiritually connected, whatever that means to you, but also experience it and enjoy it and have the finer things in life because I'm living the life I want to live, because nowadays we can actually create that. But it requires the choice of, am I willing to let myself be that happy? Most of us are comfortable with pain.
How long would it take if someone were listening and said, dude, I'm going all in with this dude? How long does it take before someone's like a testimonial for you? Like, holy shit,
man,
guys, it was night and day.
Yeah, you can be a testimony to jump in 21 days. That's a 21 lessons interactive, boom, done. If you go the longest route you can go with us, which is the full mastery program, you're literally done in less than 6 months. Hardcore. It's like getting a PhD because we cut out all the wheat and chaff and get you right to it. Boom. We throw you in the deep end of the pool, show you how it works, and it's in. Let's go, because time's valuable.
And it's night and day.
Night and day. Let me go look at the testimonies. Don't take my...
Where would someone go investigate more?
BTU 360.
As in
Bigger
Brad,
than us. Brad Travis University.
There you go.
I just got
so BTU.
BTU, bigger than us, 360.com.
360.com.
Go there, check it out, or you can go to my Instagram. It's Travis Fox 360. And it's 360 because it's a full 360 immersion. It's not just, hey, focus on this, And it shows you, and it literally, we have a quiz you can go take. It's totally free. And that quiz will help you determine what is your subconscious, your deep part of you really interested in learning. And it's your answers. And so when you go through the questions, your subconscious will evoke itself. The real you will evoke. Do I want to work on my personal journey? Do I want to heal? Do I want to deal with the 21 human fears, which is the keys to fear? How do I actually deal with real fear? How do I unwind that fear? Where did it come from? Or do I want to work on my healing? Or do I just want to jump in and change my life because, dang, it's getting kind of boring or it's like mediocre? Or do I want to become a teacher trainer? Do you want to come to the university and become a teacher trainer? We pay our teachers trainers to teach, but they go through the process, they learn, and they can be a part of something until they figure out what that is. Or do they want to be a Brad Lee? Do they want their own brand, their own message, dropping bombs? Do they want to go out and change the world and they know what it is, but they don't have a system how to do it? They don't know how to really create that, how to build a brand, put the structure together, be a content provider, have a system that backs them up to help their students go. We have all that for them as well. But that quiz, go take it. Go find out what your blueprint is, or take the passion quiz. Find out where your passion is or isn't in your own life, or take the third quiz, which is the fear one. Where am I scared to death to be blank?
BTU is all where that is. BTU 360.
BTU 360 right there. Go check it out.
Well, folks, I'm going to say Dr. Fox. I'm going to have Travis back, obviously, for another episode.
Thanks, Ben.
He doesn't have all day. I told him an hour max. It's been an hour and 8 minutes. So, folks, if I were you, I'd go to BTU360.com and check it out. I'd definitely follow him on Instagram because I do. And you're always dropping little wisdom nuggets.
Thank you, brother.
And, get yourself, I don't want to say fixed because there's a lot of people that are killing the game. But, dude, there is another level to things. You don't have to be broke.
I'm glad you said that. Thank you. I want to be very adamant. There is no such thing as being fixed. I hate that. That is a big misnomer for me. You're not broken. There's nothing broken about you. It's like saying, and I even put this away, go to relationships. People say, you know what, Brad? You've met your match. That's a real competitive model. The undercurrent of that statement in a relationship is it's a competition. Even in a marriage, hey, you've met your match. It's like this undercurrent of competition. What if you made your match? You were really crystal clear what you wanted, and all of a sudden you made your match. Well, that changes the model. Well, okay, same thing. You're not broken. You just haven't got the wealth set. Because when you get a wealth set of skills here, that's what I believe makes you wealthy. And that expresses itself in all kinds of riches. Money, friendship, relationships, businesses, experiences. That's the riches of the wealth of you. Once you know how to do that, you can architect your life and your lifestyle any way you want, anywhere you want, with anyone you want. That's freedom.
And more importantly, you can do it for others.
Amen.
Because if you ask me, it's great to get there yourself, but if you don't help others get there,
boring.
Dude,
Boring.
People always say it's lonely at the top. I'm like, that's because you didn't help any other people get there, you prick.
What if you change the model? What if this model changes to that model? What if the bottom is the top? You're at the bottom helping all these people, and not because you're awesome, but because you dig it, and they're doing it for themselves, and they're not like following you. Oh, the great Travis Fox, the great Brett. No, don't do that. You be the great you, but let's walk together and go create something together. Why not? Because again, we're on the back nine, you and I, and the rest of you who are on the front rolling to the back. Enjoy the hell out of it because you have no idea when you're going to go. That's the illusion of all time.
That's a fact.
That is the biggest illusion of all time. If 2020 didn't prove that to you, that things can change on a dime, you have definitely hypnotized yourself. It's time to give yourself an opportunity to stop.
And 2020 isn't over, kids.
I know, right? We got a whole lot more to go.
Dude, I'm like one of the most positive, optimistic, like nothing phases me. I see the opportunity in everything. And I'm starting to think, holy shit, like, dude, this can get bad. I catch myself going, holy shit, this can go totally
We're only
bad.
the seventh inning right now if you really want to kind of put some monikers on. I mean, this year's been bizarre because for me, I started out in January. I was in the Philippines when I was there when the volcano erupted. It actually interrupted my travel. I got stuck in it and had, our office had a problem there. We're trying to figure out how to get back. Came back, all of a sudden, boom, my father dies. Wow, okay, great. Bam, now COVID happens. Boom, now we're in lockdown. Bang, every city, you can't go anywhere. I'm like, we got earthquakes now. Now we got hurricanes. I mean, damn, all we need now is zombies, and it's a full season. So yeah, it can. I'm optimistic that it will turn, but I think we've still got a couple more rungs to go, and then somewhere down the road, people are finally going to go, okay, enough. Let's do this. Stop the competitive thing, and let's all work together because we're stuck on this planet whether you like it or not. We're here.
You ain't lying.
You know what I'm saying?
Regardless of what Elon Musk thinks.
Well, I'd take the trip to Mars. It'd be interesting.
That's another thing.
Right?
I wouldn't.
Why not?
Fuck are you going to do in Mars?
Let's go find out.
Pass.
Okay. Pass it on to me.
You can have it, dude. Like, dude, if someone right now said, Brad, the shuttle leaves to Mars tomorrow.
Right.
You can get on. We just want to document you going to Mars. My answer would be pass.
Well, I'll take your spot then.
Yes.
What
do you think there? What are you going to eat? What are you going to do? Who's going to be there?
You.
What are you going to expect?
I don't expect anything. How can you? You have no frame of reference.
Dude, I like it
that's
here.
That's like asking a virgin what they expect at sex.
Yeah, but I like it right here on Earth.
That's fair. There's no judgment in that. I'd experience it.
Just like I don't jump out of an airplane. No need. No need.
Well, it's not a need, it's a want. You don't need to jump out of a plane unless the plane's going down. Let's be honest.
Yeah, well, then I would. Well, like if the plane was going down, I think every airliner should have parachutes.
I've always wondered that myself.
If it starts to go down, they know there's an issue. Slow that bitch down, open the doors, and tell everybody, hey,
out the back.
Better jump.
Right, right.
And I'd
B-25
jump.
time, I'd jump too, right?
Yeah, I'd grab my kids, I'd jump, and I'd hold tight, and there it is.
Well, and again, that brings up the topic. We don't have to go down. We'll do another show, but that's need versus want. We use need way too much. Way too much. You don't need as much as you think you do. You want a lot. That's fair. Like you want more.
Oh, yeah, I want more.
You don't need more, but you want more.
I don't need more.
Right.
I'm at least acknowledging that.
And that's fair. And
Matter of fact, I have more than enough.
Correct. However, most people who are not in your position, and myself excluded, they'll go, well, I need to get that. And all of a sudden it changes the dynamic of the entire experience. It changes to obligation, changes to responsibility, it changes to this, I got to climb up a mountain as opposed to I want it. You don't need it. You want it. You could stop today. You choose it because you want it. You enjoy it. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I have this conversation with my wife on a regular basis.
I'm not that kind of doc. I'm out.
Well, I mean, her closets are jam-packed, but she's ordering and buying shit. And I'm like, babe, you don't need anything. She's like, I need new shoes. I'm like, you don't need new shoes. You want new shoes.
Absolutely. We got 400 pairs.
She does.
I
and it's almost like a sickness.
In some ways.
Is there any way you could clinically hypnotherapy her ass into thinking she's got enough?
If I get the first autographed copy of your book, we'll talk.
All right. Deal. Yeah. Deal. Folks, go follow Travis at Travis Fox 360. Go check out those free tests, VTU or BTU360.com. And more importantly, if you want to freaking honor the show, share it out, man. The more you share this puppy out, the more likely someone's going to hear, and literally it'll hit its mark. And as always, until next time, keep it real.